The deadliest man in Westeros walked up to Alys Rivers to kill her. She did not run, she did not scream, she just stood there, and seconds later he collapsed at her feet. So in this video, we are answering the 4 biggest questions about the most mysterious woman in House of the Dragon. Who is Alys Rivers really? Did she see Prince Aemond Targaryen's collapse before it happened? How does she know about battles hundreds of miles away while they are still being fought? And is she connected to Bran Stark from Game of Thrones? If you like deep, analytical videos about House of the Dragon, hit subscribe because this channel breaks down every episode and every big theory. Now let's get into it. So first, who is Alys Rivers? Let's start with the basics that the show has confirmed. Alys Rivers lives at Harrenhal, the massive, half-ruined, supposedly cursed castle in the Riverlands. She works there as a healer, someone who treats wounds and mixes remedies, and the people around Harrenhal quietly whisper that she is a witch. Her last name tells you something important too. In this world, bastard children born in the Riverlands are given the last name Rivers, the same way bastards in the North are named Snow. So Alys Rivers is a bastard, and specifically, she is a bastard of House Strong, the family that ruled Harrenhal for years. That makes her a blood relative of characters you already know, like Sir Harwin Strong and Lord Larys Strong. She is family to them, but because she was born a bastard, she was never given the Strong name, never given lands, and never given any real place in the world. Remember that detail, because it explains a lot about what Alys Rivers wants. Now here is where things get strange, because Alys Rivers is clearly much more than a simple healer. All the way back in Season 2, when Prince Daemon Targaryen occupied Harrenhal, Alys Rivers was the one guiding him through his disturbing visions and dreams. Prince Daemon Targaryen kept seeing things that should have been impossible, his past, his guilt, versions of people who were dead, and Alys Rivers always seemed to know exactly what he was experiencing and exactly what it meant. Eventually, Alys Rivers led Prince Daemon Targaryen to the ancient weirwood tree at Harrenhal, and when he touched it, he saw a full vision of the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy, the future of this entire world, including events that happen almost 200 years later in Game of Thrones. A normal healer does not do that. A normal healer does not hand a Targaryen prince a guided tour of the future. Whatever Alys Rivers is, she is plugged into something ancient and powerful. That brings us to the moment you have all been asking about, the scene in Season 3, Episode 2, when Prince Aemond Targaryen takes Harrenhal. Let's set the scene properly. Prince Aemond Targaryen has just killed the elderly Castellan, Sir Simon Strong, and cut down Sir Simon Strong's sons when they tried to fight back. But one of them managed to stab Prince Aemond Targaryen in the back before dying. And then Prince Aemond Targaryen turns toward Alys Rivers, and he starts walking toward her with clear, malicious intent. This is a man who just killed several people in front of her. This is the most feared dragon rider in Westeros, the Rider of Vhagar, the man who has burned towns and killed his own family members. Any normal person in that room would run, scream, beg, or grab a weapon. Alys Rivers does none of those things. Alys Rivers just stands there, completely calm, completely still, watching him come. And then, before Prince Aemond Targaryen can lay a single hand on her, his stab wound catches up with him. The bleeding overwhelms him, his body gives out, and he collapses to the floor at her feet, weakly begging her for help. So how is Alys Rivers so calm? The most convincing answer, and honestly the one the show seems to be pointing us toward, is exactly what many of you are already thinking. Alys Rivers was calm because Alys Rivers already knew. She has shown us, repeatedly, that she can see things before they happen and things happening far away. If Alys Rivers can see the future, then from her point of view, there was never any danger in that room at all. She was not watching an armed killer walk toward her. She was watching a wounded man walk toward the exact spot where she knew he would fall. She did not need to run, because in her mind the scene had already played out. That is what makes her stillness so chilling. It is not bravery, it is certainty. And think about what that means for the power balance in that room. Prince Aemond Targaryen arrived at Harrenhal as a conqueror on the biggest dragon in the world, and within minutes, he is bleeding out on the floor, completely at the mercy of an unarmed healer, pleading for his life. The most dangerous weapon in Westeros is not Vhagar. It might be knowing what happens next. Now let's talk about the other mystery, the one that has fans genuinely confused, which is how Alys Rivers seems to be in places she should not be, knowing things she cannot possibly know. In the Season 3 premiere, the 3 dragon seeds, Hugh Hammer, Ulf White, and Adam of Hull, are camped in the woods near Harrenhal, waiting to ambush Prince Aemond Targaryen if he flies past. They wait for 2 days and see nothing. And then Alys Rivers simply appears out of the trees, seemingly out of nowhere, and tells them they are wasting their time, because a real battle is happening at that very moment near Dragonstone, the Battle of the Gullet. Stop and think about that. The Battle of the Gullet is happening hundreds of miles away, across the continent at sea. There are no ravens that fast. There are no messengers that fast. There is no natural way for anyone standing in a forest in the Riverlands to know about a naval battle at the Gullet while it is still happening. And yet Alys Rivers knows, in real time, and she is right. So is Alys Rivers literally in 2 places at once? Probably not physically, and to be fair, the show's timeline can technically be stretched to allow her movements, since both Harrenhal and the Dragonseeds camp are in the same general region. But that is not really the point, because the deeper mystery is not where her body is, it is where her sight is. Alys Rivers does not need to be at the Gullet to see the Gullet. In this universe, there is a very specific kind of magic that works exactly like this, and it is called greensight. Greenseers are rare individuals who can see through time and space, glimpsing the past, the future, and events happening far away, often through the network of weirwood trees that spreads across Westeros like a living web. And where does Alys Rivers do her most powerful work? At the weirwood tree of Harrenhal. Every strange thing Alys Rivers has done, the visions, the prophecies, the impossible real-time knowledge, the eerie calm fits the profile of a greenseer, someone whose consciousness is not limited to the place her body happens to be standing. And that brings us directly to your favorite question, the one I have seen everywhere. Is Alys Rivers connected to Bran Stark, the boy in the wheelchair from Game of Thrones? Let's be precise here, because the answer is both no and yes, and the real answer is honestly cooler than the theory. By blood, no. Alys Rivers and Bran Stark are not related. It is an easy mix-up because the family names sound so similar, Strong and Stark, but they are two completely different houses from two completely different regions. Alys Rivers is a bastard of House Strong of Harrenhal in the Riverlands. Bran Stark belongs to House Stark of Winterfell in the north. There is no family line connecting them. But here is the yes part, and this is what makes it exciting. Alys Rivers and Bran Stark appear to be connected by something much deeper than blood, and that is the magic itself. Bran Stark in Game of Thrones becomes the three-eyed raven, the most powerful greenseer who ever lived, able to see the entire past and present of the world through the weirwood network. Everything Bran Stark does, seeing distant events in real time, watching the past, knowing the future, calmly facing deadly enemies because he already knows the outcome, is exactly the pattern of behavior Alys Rivers is showing almost 200 years earlier. When Bran Stark sits calmly in the Godswood while the Night King walks up to kill him, because he knows how the story ends, that is the exact same energy as Alys Rivers standing still while Prince Aemond Targaryen walks up to kill her. House of the Dragon seems to be deliberately showing us that the ancient magic of the weirwoods, the magic that eventually produces the three-eyed raven, was alive and active during the Dance of the Dragons, and Alys Rivers is our window into it. She is not Bran Stark's relative. She might be something better for the story, his magical predecessor. So what does Alys Rivers actually want? This is where everything comes together, and where I think she becomes the most fascinating character in the entire season. Look at her situation. Alys Rivers is a bastard of House Strong, born at Harrenhal, raised at Harrenhal, tied to Harrenhal her whole life, and yet she owns nothing. Then in Season 3, we get the key scene. Before Prince Daemon Targaryen leaves Harrenhal, Alys Rivers asks for one thing in exchange for everything she has done for him and for Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen's cause. She asks for Harrenhal itself to finally hold the castle of her own family in her own name. And Prince Daemon Targaryen laughs at her. He dismisses her completely, and she warns him not to come back. Now think about what happens almost immediately after that insult. Alys Rivers appears to the dragon seeds and tells them about the Gullet, which conveniently makes them abandon their ambush position, which conveniently leaves the skies over Harrenhal completely undefended, which conveniently allows Prince Aemond Targaryen to arrive on Vagar and take the castle without any dragon opposing him. Was that an accident? A woman who sees the future just happened to clear the path for the enemy right after Team Black refused to pay her? I do not believe that for a second, and I do not think you should either. And now Prince Aemond Targaryen, the new master of Harrenhal, is lying helpless at her feet, begging for his life, his survival entirely in her hands. If Alys Rivers saves him, Prince Aemond Targaryen owes her everything, and unlike Prince Daemon Targaryen, he is in no position to laugh at her requests. Book readers already know that in the source material, Fire and Blood, the relationship between Alys Rivers and Prince Aemond Targaryen becomes far more than healer and patient, and the Season 3 trailer itself contains shots that strongly hint the show is heading down that same path, including imagery fans believe involves Alys Rivers, a pregnancy, and a dragon egg. If that plays out, then Alys Rivers will have gone from a dismissed bastard servant to the partner of the most powerful dragon rider in the world, holding the very castle her family denied her, all without swinging a single sword. Every side in this war thinks they are using Alys Rivers. Prince Daemon Targaryen thought she was his guy. Team Black thought she was their informant. Prince Aemond Targaryen probably thinks she is his healer. But step back and look at the pattern, and it starts to look like Alys Rivers has been quietly steering all of them, trading her knowledge of the future for position, and switching sides the moment one side stops being useful to her. So here is where we land. Alys Rivers is a bastard of House Strong who was denied everything by the rules of this world, and who found power through something older than any throne, the magic of the weirwoods. She stayed calm in front of Prince Aemond Targaryen because she almost certainly saw his collapse before it happened. She knows about distant events because her sight, like the sight of the future three-eyed raven, is not limited by distance. She is not related to Bran Stark by blood, but she appears to draw from the very same ancient well of power that will one day make him the most all-knowing being in Westeros. And right now, in Season 3, she may be quietly positioning herself next to Prince Aemond Targaryen, with Harrenhal finally in her grasp and a grudge against Team Black that Prince Daemon Targaryen created all by himself. The scariest player in the Dance of the Dragons might not be anyone riding a dragon. It might be the woman who already knows how the dance ends. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and drop your own Alys Rivers theory in the comments, because I read every single one and I want to know, do you think she planned Harrenhal's fall from the very beginning? We cover every House of the Dragon episode and every major theory right here on this channel, so I will see you in the next one.